You know that feeling when a payment clears in your bank account? That little bit of security, a bit of help. But have you ever stopped to think where it actually comes from?
Think about child benefit, maybe arriving just in the nick of time for the big weekly shop.
Or how about the state pension, the thing that pays for a retiree's morning coffee and a little slice of independence?
Or maybe it's sick pay, that crucial lifeline keeping a worker afloat while they recover from an injury.
And then there's that vital mobility allowance, which isn't just money, it's the freedom to get around. These are all real, tangible moments of support.
But here's the thing, none of this is magic. It is machinery. And today we are going to lift the bonnet on the DNA of the modern British welfare state, the Social Security Contributions and Benefits Act 1992.
Now, what's so fascinating is that the 1992 Act didn't actually invent welfare. What it did was bring order to chaos. It took decades of fragmented, often contradictory laws and consolidated them into one massive, unified rulebook. It dictates with incredible precision exactly who pays in and who can take out.
To really get to grips with its power, we have to deconstruct it. You see, the whole act is built on 5 foundational pillars, and we're going to break down every single one.
So let's start with Pillar 1. You can think of this as the ultimate safety net, the support that's there for you regardless of your work history.
The key phrase here is non-contributory. What it means is your entitlement is completely separate from your national insurance record. You literally do not need to have paid a single penny into the system to qualify for these specific benefits.
And under this pillar, the Act really codified 3 major streams of support. You've got the Disability Living Allowance, or DLA, Attendance Allowance for those over 65, and Carers Allowance for people who have to sacrifice work to provide care.
And this is where the Act was, well, pretty ingenious. It split the experience of disability into 2 distinct legal components, a care component for daily living needs and a mobility component for getting around. But crucially, it enshrined that DLA must be tax-free and non-means tested. This was a powerful statement, recognizing the absolute extra costs that come with a disability, no matter what a person's wealth is.
Okay, so let's move on to Pillar 2 and find out how all of this gets paid for. This is, quite literally, the engine room of the entire system. Without it, all the other pillars just collapse. And that engine is national insurance. The Act categorized it all with legal precision. So you have Class 1 for employees and employers, covering earnings and perks. Then you've got Classes 2 and 4, which are for the self-employed. And there's even Class 3, which allows for voluntary top-ups, letting people fill in any gaps in their record.
So, you've paid in, what do you get out? Well, that brings us right to Pillar 3, the something-for-something payoff. This is where your contributions legally unlock very specific entitlements.
The big one, of course, is the state retirement pension. The Act defined the 2 main ways you could claim it. Category A, based on your own contribution record, and Category B, which allowed a claim based on a spouse's record. But it wasn't just about old age. This pillar essentially turned your contributions into an insurance policy. It established the solid rules for incapacity benefit, for long-term sickness, and bereavement benefits for when a spouse passes away.
Now, the state realized pretty quickly it couldn't administer every single minor shock to the workforce. So, Pillar 4 is actually a brilliant piece of legislative delegation.
See, instead of having workers queue up at a government office, the Act forced employers to administer state welfare themselves. It mandated them to pay statutory sick pay and statutory maternity pay directly through their own payroll. The state sets the rules, the employer executes the payment.
Pretty clever.
Finally, let's look at Pillar 5. This one covers 2 really distinct but absolutely vital areas: universal support for families and the ultimate safety net for anyone who slips through all the other cracks. First, it enshrined child benefit as a universal, tax-free right for caregivers, a simple, direct payment to recognize the costs that come with raising children. But it also built what was called the income-related framework. This laid out the rules for means-tested support like income support and housing benefit, and it required a pretty forensic assessment of a person's capital and savings to provide an absolute minimum safety net.
So what do you think is the modern equivalent of this complex, highly scrutinized income-related framework from all the way back in 1992? It's universal credit. The core principles that underpin UC today, assessing income and capital to provide a single payment, they were born right here, in the 1992 Act. You know, every single payroll run, every pension, every allowance is driven by the code hidden inside this single piece of legislation. The Social Security Contributions and Benefits Act 1992 isn't just a rulebook, it is the ultimate social contract, quantified.